Why, hello there. Back with some more hard-hitting entertainment. Still working out the technical things. I did buy a set of headphones with the microphone little theme thingy my barber did a redo. So, more to come. So, dropping in tonight. Really conscious of keeping things concise, brief, making my hard-hitting points and moving along. So, let's see how that goes. So, what we have tonight is a video from Davis M.J. Aurini called Black Panther is for Black Cucks. This is a follow-up to his original just review of the film. And I think as we move in, you'll see kind of why I want to cover this. And I'll just maybe come back with a little well-rounded summary to why I wanted to cover this. Well, I guess just to kind of very briefly introduce the why. Primarily, this is something this one of the things that stuck out to me with starting this channel that I wanted to cover is it's a broad movement. I would say the alt-right, white nationalist, red pill, MGTOW, dissident right. There's these ideas, particularly as they hone in on black men and boys, and it does kind of permeate outwards to black women and black people as a whole. There's a lot of these things that are said and points that are made that just, well, I'm here to, in many cases, add context. I'm also here to outright critique and challenge them. Sometimes little ridicule, just a little good gentle ribbing, and other things beyond that. So let me just get into this. We're gonna pause, stop. It's a 9-minute, 30-second-ish video. The first 3 minutes or 4 minutes have some of the meat that I want to dig into. And then I'm just going to jump to the very end at about the 8-minute, 18-second mark. So let's go into full screen and we'll take it from here.
Let me ask you something. What's the biggest lie told to young black men? I would say that the biggest lie is, buy these sneakers and one day you'll be a rich basketball player. Just buy our overpriced sneakers and you'll be a success. Sneakers that are sewn by Chinese slave labor, produced by a megacorporation owned by a bunch of rich white guys over in Los Angeles. That poor, dumb black kid throwing away money he can't afford on a pair of sneakers that aren't going to do jack for him, but make a bunch of white guys rich.
Okay, so we'll just pause here real quick. So, in that brief intro, the first thing that really stood out to me in this one is black kids or young poor black boys, small violin again, and them wanting to buy sneakers to be famous and rich and wealthy and handsome by putting on them sneakers. So one of the key notes I wrote down was this sneaker culture has really been around probably since the 80s. We think about the height of the basketball era, Michael Jordan and the Nike, the Air Jordan that become this kind of, apex of this moment. Obviously basketball is still relatively popular and enjoyed. I don't think that since the 90s and the Bulls, we have that same kind of cultural kind of connection to basketball. And this is across all races and different groups. So I just find it a little bit faulty that this is kind of like the argument that he's pulling just to kind of lay the foundation, because it just feels a little dated. In sneaker culture, even more so than that, why his statement here is so dated is because it's become very normalized. The sneaker is a part of and obviously, not every black person or black man or woman or whoever, that we're adding here that is a part of, it's become a staple in the majority black cultural settings in terms of fashion and for a lot of other reasons. Like you think of the Adidas sneakers in the Walk This Way video with Aerosmith and Run DMC. I mean, from that to modern day where, even now sneaker culture has kind of traveled through a lot of different racial ecosystems in America. So the idea that black boys just buying shoes to be like some basketball star, like I'm buying these sneakers to be like Larry Bird in 2018 is just a little dated. But anywho.
This is a follow-up video to my review of Black Panther. In that review, I just discussed why I hated it as a film. And I tend to dislike most Marvel films because they're the exact same pandering garbage. But this one had something more than just the pandering garbage. It had that racial animus tossed into it. It had that Black Lives Matter edge to it. So you've got the typical garbage of Marvel, and on top of that, you got the garbage of Black Lives Matter. Now, listen, I've heard from a few black folks that, you know what they wanted to see?
I'm going to stop there before he goes into this point, which I would like to flesh out too. You know, I didn't really I went to see it just because I took someone that wanted to go, an older relative of mine, and I figured, why not? I was visiting, whatever. I didn't really get this, like, angry, vicious, Black Lives-y matteriness off of it. You know, it just basically, and I wrote this down, is Black Panther is just a chocolate-dipped, paint job theory, Marvel meh show. No more, no less. I know everyone wanted to read their things into it. You have the alt-right saying it's a really an alt-right thesis to it. You got the black people saying, oh, well, what's his name? Killmonger is like our hero, blah, 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 blah. I don't know.
They wanted to see a film that actually showed what would Africa look like without the history of white colonialism. What could blacks look like without the history of slavery in the United States? And you know what? I feel for that. I definitely feel for that. If that was what Black Panther was, you know what? Maybe I wouldn't have enjoyed it because it wasn't for me, but I could have appreciated it as a good film. But what was Black Panther? Well, first of all, let's look at who's behind it. Now, these two faces you've probably seen. That's the...
Okay. I'm going to pause and just give you a synopsis of what he's going to say here. There's a lot of whites and echo white people, parentheses white people, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, who are behind the film. And I'll just summarize this very briefly. It's not in his point, oh, don't you care that it's really a bunch of white people making you their cucks, as the title implies, by spending your money, by going to see this weekend, throwing up a power fist for it. And it's like, Davis, the same race that, turns out they're spending dollars for pretty much every corporation. I mean, is there really some overarching black type of white? I mean, it's a lot of, raw chest pumping, but it was a movie for them to go see, like, this whole point that you're trying to make, that don't you feel ashamed that, like, all these Jews and whites are making money off of this and you're a cuck for going to see it? Like, no, cracker, no, they don't care about that. Like, I get the heart and what you're trying to do here, and I think a lot more of this video is kind of indirectly geared at more of your white fan base to kind of make a point. Don't get me wrong, there's a few black men in the comments like, I'm a black guy and I co-signed this comment, Davis, great video, But they obviously collectively as a race don't care. Like, I get what you're trying to do here, but they just don't care. We'll just leave it at that. So let's just move along to the end, because I think that's where I really want to kind of spend the rest of just go to this point and go through the remainder of the video, and I'll just tie it up in a nice little bow, and we'll leave it there. Because I have another video coming I really want to do. This is commentary on... there's a channel called Awareness with Chris, and he has this video called The Evolution of the Black Man that I think I'll probably just definitely do it in 2 parts, just so I don't go over, and B, I can kind of get comfortable with the few points that he's making. So let's just go back to Davis and wrap it up here.
It's a good movie. You know what? If you want to see a good movie about black nationalism, go watch Zulu. It's mostly from the perspective of the Brits, but the Zulus are treated with great respect. They're heroic. They're badass in that movie. You want to see a good African-American actor portraying an African-American alpha badass, large and in charge? Go watch Star Trek Deep Space Nine. Benjamin Sisko is badass.
Okay, so... okay, like, let's go watch Deep Space Nine with somebody's an alpha badass in charge black man. Isn't that like another fictitious, sci-fi fantasy universe, just like Wakanda is? Like the first reference to Zulu has some, it's a fictionalized film, but it has some bearing in actual historical events. So then on the second, point, you're going to tell me to go watch like Deep Space Nine? What? Okay. Well, thanks.
But if you want to go suck on Disney's taint and resent white people while white people are the ones telling you to resent white people, go ahead, be a cuck. Doesn't affect me. Lots of losers in this world, and there's always going to be an excuse for you to fail at life too. Or you could start taking responsibility for yourself, get your act together, and go out there and win. Balls in your court, brothers. Deus Volt Aurini out.
Great production value too. I'll give him that. Like it's like living room den where he shoots a video. So right before that point, and I'm not gonna go back because I already jumped, but the link will be below. He references the just lost it. What did he say? Oh, well, he makes his analogy about the Star Wars 40-something-year-old white guys with their lightsabers at the theater, and says that, you poor black boy with your tennis shoes that you're buying because, the white man, the Jews told you to buy them, blah, blah, blah. Well, the thing is, that's a big race realism point to make there. White men, now you can call them cucks, and maybe they are, and Star Wars fanboydom is problematic amongst people over a certain age. I'm willing to entertain that and actually agree with him primarily, but disagree in the sense that on average, white men, particularly maybe 30, 40 somethings of some middle to moderate class standing, engaging in escapism, most likely on a weekend. I'm going to take it that their kids aren't like in a cardboard box on the corner begging for food while he's, lightsabering it up at his local multiplex. They have a little bit more license to engage and detach in a white high trust or higher trust society they may belong to, versus, as he laid out, these poor, destitute black men in the inner city who are being forced to buy tennis shoes. So it's not a direct comparison. And I get this is kind of the reason I wanted to just do this quick little video to shout this out, because it is part of one of the other key reasons of starting this channel, because I see a lot of this in this kind of broader dissident alt-right, but it's funny, it goes all the way across the right, into like the normie Trump conservatives and everything. There's this narrative, this poor black boy, he's just in the inner city and he has no control over everything. Every, black mom is some like harpy with a hair weave who's oppressing him. And it's funny, he says, don't go see the movie because where white people are telling you to hate other white people. Wink, wink, echo white people. Also, that, he's, like he said in another video, he's read between the lines what he's suggesting. But again, this is just some narrative that I find amongst whites, even these dissident, woke alt-righters, that I find extremely problematic, because if they keep engaging this very half-baked idea of black men, in particular in the black community in general, they're not meeting the goals that they say they want to make as a race. And at this point, after maybe a few years in and out of around all the different corners of the scene, I have to start to wonder how much this is just willful ignorance and how much of it is intentional. But just in closing, it's a movie, sneakers and basketball players and that whole direct comparison that's like from the 90s. It's a part of like the culture now. People went to see Black Panther movie because it was basically, again, a chocolate dipped paint job theory Marvel film full of fluff, and people had their moment, and it's like probably going to be over soon. Join me for my next video. Let me go ahead and get that loaded up. Take it easy, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.